broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Good evening and welcome to another episode of So You Think You Can Dance here on AfterBuzz TV. There is so much to talk about, so I'm not going to dilly-dally. I'm Kristyn Burtt, right over here.
I'm Chloe West.
I'm over here. I'm Alison Dean.
Oh, and guess for his fourth appearance, he's back and he's got a lot to say. Emmy-nominated choreographer, Spencer Liff.
Woo!
Hey guys.
Yay! Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I love that you had no idea you were nominated.
It was just one of those mornings. I was actually going to rehearsal for So You Think. I was fully in the bathroom and my phone just exploded. I didn't realize that the nominations were coming out. And it takes you a second to be like, congratulations on what? Why is everyone saying congratulations?
Because you deserve it. We're super excited for you. You and I have chatted a little bit over the last week and a half or so, just talking about the Emmy nominations. And let's just talk about this because there's been a big controversy of trying to understand the Whitney Carson and her assistant Alan Salazar, because he was saying that Whitney tried to get him, as well as Dancing with the Stars, tried to get him onto the nomination. We don't know what happened and what happened behind the scenes, but then Whitney said he assisted. Her mom was saying he assisted. He implied that he co-choreographed. It's super confusing for the fans. Kind of give us your perspective on this.
So I've ghosted on that show before many times. I will not say to who, but lots of choreographers or lots of the dancers on the show use outside help. You are employed by them. You are not employed by the show. You are paid out of their pocket, and it is their choice to use some extra help or not. The producers are aware of it, but they are not. I've always met at a different location. You don't go to the main rehearsal studio, and then you take your money and you did your job and you leave, and you don't come back later when they're successful and say and try to take claim to that. So I don't, if you choose to do that in that situation, then you are assisting, in my mind. I always thank my assistants. I have great ones, all from the show: Kayla Radomski, Mackenzie Dustman, Clarice. They've all helped me. But when I get nominated, it's my nomination.
And that goes on in the industry
constantly. I've assisted and associated for many people that have won awards before. You don't have a claim to that award when you're not contracted, and that's just what keeps it cut and dry. There's no, I did 80% of the steps, or that doesn't exist in the world. And it's what drove me at 23 to be like, I'm doing this on my own because I'm not letting someone else take credit for it. And if I want to make extra money on the side and go help someone at Dancing with the Stars, then I do that and I keep my mouth shut.
And you take your check and you go to the bank and you cash it.
That's what. So that's my. It has to be that cut and dry, because if not, it gets muddy.
Yeah, it makes sense too, because if you think about the producer who wins for Best Picture, obviously he's not the only guy who worked on that movie, but he's the guy who wins and gets to take home or girl. Or girl or guy.
It's a great example.
Yeah, and that it's also a good point that the Television Academy or the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences, it doesn't matter what it's for. They have very clear rules, and they're not flexible. Even the Academy Awards, there's 3 producers. Only 3 can get nominated, and that's it, even if 5 of you worked on it together. So
yeah.
These things happen. Who knows what happened? We weren't in that rehearsal studio with Whitney and Alan. Whitney did thank Alan. And so everything happened on social media, like it always seems to do, and it explodes in a way. But thank you for that explanation, because I think
last time I got nominated, I took my assistant to the Emmys with me. We had a wonderful night. We enjoyed it. It was Kayla at the time, and she was so happy for me, and that's sort of what you want.
Yeah, exactly. But thank you for that inside scoop.
Totally.
I think that helps us all understand a little bit better. Let's get on to our show. Top 18 goes down to top 16. What are you thinking? How are you feeling about this format so far this year?
I think that there is a lot of potential in it. They are trying to figure it out along the way. It can't be as planned out as it normally is. As choreographing last week, we didn't know if we'd have duets or trios. It was sort of up in the air because they don't know what ratio of guys to girls is going home. So it's a little bit more fly by the seat of the pants this year, trying to figure it all out. But I agree that we needed a freshener up. We were told we were done last year. Like, hands down, we were done. I walked out of that studio and said goodbye to it and thanked it in my head for everything it's done. So when I heard it was coming back, it was like, okay, we're going to do it again. Let's go. And we're doing what now with the format? And, I think that if they try again in this new format, they would figure out some more things and, figure out what the Travis and Twitch thing, the mentor thing is. And there's a lot going on this year.
There is a lot. I spoke to Nigel on National Dance Day, and he said the only way we're coming back is if we did the format change. He said the network forced it. So ride with him with the changes, because listen, Nigel doesn't hate dance. He loves dance. So, and I have to applaud him. You may not agree with his decisions, but he does answer his critics on Twitter all the time. And good for him.
And he changes the show. I mean, remember, was it 2 seasons ago or was it last season when they eliminated someone at the beginning of the show? Yeah, it was 2 seasons
Brittany
ago.
Cherry.
They eliminated them at the beginning of the show.
Oh, God. I had her that week. I had her that week. It was the worst thing in the world.
And then he listened to everyone, and they were like, yeah, we have to change it. And then they changed it, because that was the first year we didn't have the 2 days. Yeah, so they were like, how are we going to eliminate people? Oh, we'll just do it at the beginning.
No big deal.
Our show's always changed a little bit every year. One year it was only a top 10, and there was All-Stars that got introduced. And that, like, they do, when they start doing 2 numbers, and when they start doing the mini groups, like, all that has always been a little bit different. But this is certainly, I think, the biggest change we've had.
It's drastic, and we're seeing a lot of new choreographers, like the opening number. We were talking about this, and I was like, I had to go and Google these people because I really wasn't sure who they were. It's Reina Hidalgo and Asiel Hardison. Asiel is Lady Gaga's dance captain. And Reina, she actually is choreographing East Los High on Hulu.
Oh, cool.
So she's done that for 2 seasons. She's been on Teen Beach Movie. She danced for Pink. But, this is a great way to break new choreographers this season, too.
100%.
It was awesome.
I loved it. It
reminded me of In the Heights. It was like a production. The opening number of In the Heights is what it felt like to me.
And Virgil was your star.
Very celebratory.
Yeah, seriously. But you know what? I gotta give your Ellis credit, because she was a street dancer in heels, and there were other street dancers not in heels, and I was super proud of her. She's really standing out.
And a ballroom heel, too. Like, she didn't get, like, a big, chunky LaDuca. She got, like, the teeny little cha-cha heel.
Yeah, it was awesome. Your Ellis is, like, standing out for me, and this was a dance specifically that I was noticing her. I mean, obviously, you're noticing,
Yeah, you start picking out people, though, at this point, because you're familiar with faces and everyone else. So that was kind of awesome. And, it's kind of interesting. The numbers, too, Kat talked about that in terms of street and stage. They're really pretty close. Nigel said the same thing.
Yeah. I was actually kind of surprised. Wasn't it like the exact same the week before? Wasn't it like 52-48?
When I spoke to him on Saturday, he said it was like 56.
Can we talk about you and Nigel speaking on Saturday? Because I am really, when I saw you posted that photo, I was dying one. And I was like, we did it. We met Nigel. We as Nigel. In you.
Yeah, I stalked him all week because I was at the Dancers Forum on Thursday and then National Dance Day on Saturday, hanging out backstage, just stalking Nigel. And I was like, just 5 minutes. Give me 5 minutes.
Oh, that's all he gave you? And you rattled off as many questions as you could.
No, he actually stood for 10, but I did the whole reporter, just give me 5.
That's how you gotta do it.
He's always happy to talk dance and everything else. And I talked to Ray Leeper and Keon, who was there as well. And it was hot. So
Did you dance?
Well, Keon was there, so yeah.
Okay. I didn't dance. I hugged all the guys while they were sweating and dripping. So let's get into that first dance of the night. It was Yaya, Derek, and Alexa in the Stacey Tookie piece. So obviously contemporary. What do we think? I'll start with you, Spencer.
Yeah, go down there.
Well, this is one that I thought possibly the night before she found out she had to do it with 3 instead of 2. Mm-hmm. Like that, I sort of watched and I was like, this feels like it was a really strong concept that got an extra thrown in there. And I love the fact that we're getting to do trios this year. It opens up a big range of things that we're running out of things to do with guy-girl duets. It's just been too many. How many end of the road love stories are you going to want to watch on the show? But I think well danced by all. It's like nice to have Stacey. She was kind of one of the only like mainstay choreographers, old schools that was on this week. So it was, I will always enjoy her work.
She's fantastic. What did you guys think? I feel like this is the first time I really saw Alexa this week.
Yes, I agree.
I mean, she was in her wheelhouse for sure.
But she's been in her wheelhouse a little bit on the show, or at least in stage. She's been in the stage mode for a while, but for me, it was Derek. I really, really noticed Derek this week. But yeah, I liked it. I liked this dance. I thought it was a good number to open with. I was glad they didn't open with a number that they were like a little uncomfortable with. But yeah, it was like my favorite, but I liked it.
They normally don't open with a contemporary.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's never first up.
And not one that's
not
like
an emotional.
Yeah, an emotional one.
Like rev into it. Give me like
the veteran and the single mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not my favorite, but my eyeballs were with Yaya the whole time. Like I was thoroughly impressed at how she handled her stuff. I really did. I mean,
Stacey gave her moments. She was like, you got to do a little kick thing here, and she had some like side plank things. And, her feet are not quite there.
Right,
and there's
right.
things,
A little
but,
more
like,
strengthening the lines, yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing about this format this season that's really bumming me out is I feel like the level of talent is not as great. That came out wrong. Everyone is very talented at what they do. But the overall dances are not at a level that I'm used to them being at.
It's all getting dragged down because when you put someone who is so out of their element, and there's a lot of them, more than usual, you put one of those in every number, it unfortunately brings it all down. I'll talk about more when we get to Ace Off, but like that as a general rule, it's like it's very true. You watch it, it's just there's not as many home runs because it's way harder to achieve that.
Yeah, and it's nothing against what the choreographers can do because Stacey really gave Yaya a lot of things that I would never give an animator or anything. And Yaya did it really well. She did what she was given well, but it's one of those things that like with Amy, I mean, you could be like, in past seasons, you were like, hey, Amy, jump up and spin around, and can you do, like, a handstand? Great. Oh, you did it? Okay, now I'm going to have you do this. It's just you can't.
Less of a polish overall. I think that's what it is. We're so used to things looking so polished by the time Monday rolls around.
Yeah.
And these look like they could have a few more rehearsals. And I've been hearing, when I spoke to Ray this weekend, he was like, you're watching the dress rehearsal, and you're like, hopefully this is one that will come together, because it's a good piece. It's just not there yet.
I feel like, is this true when you're a choreographer and you're watching, you're like, I hope they get it. Like, I feel like when they get it, they like cut to the choreographers, you guys are like, oh, thank God. It's like you're taking your first breath.
You have to let it go at dress run. You're not allowed to talk to them after dress runs. So there are no final notes.
Oh.
And you see dress, and sometimes it's disastrous in dress, and the judges really decide what they're gonna say at the dress rehearsal. So that's why a lot, and I've said it before on the show, sometimes when you're really confused by comments, it's because in the dress maybe it was a disaster and it came alive and they've sort of already planned out what they're gonna say, or sometimes the opposite. But that, you really want the dress to go well, and then you have to let it go. And some performers like pop it on in the moment, and then some get real nervous and it goes the other way.
Jason's been sort of showing his cards on that because he keeps on referring to the dress rehearsal on his comments on the show, and he'll be like, in dress rehearsal, blah, blah, blah. So he's tipping the hat a little bit on that, so that they're definitely watching. Derek, I think Ray even said, because he worked with him last week, he just said, I'm looking forward to, he needs to keep on. He's got the technique. We need to see more of him. And he said he's going to get these comments in the real world, so he better start practicing here and now.
That's true. That's good. Yeah,
so it's good. Let's move on to Meg's Jim Moses for the Jekyll Knight hip-hop number. Okay. This one was tough because it's like Meg's was like right there in a style, and I love her. I think she's just one of those things. She's fresh, she's interesting, she's fun to watch. But this was a lot harder for Jim and Moses.
Yeah, it was. I really liked the number, and I liked how relaxed it was and the style of it. And I think it would be one of those things that if you saw it in real life, it would have felt so cool. but on camera you can just see the difference in all the dancers and if they're not all on together. So I think it was a bummer. I actually liked this choreography and like I enjoyed watching it. But you know, if you were to like nitpick or be a judge or something, but I enjoyed watching it, and I know that's not how the judges felt at all.
No.
I think it's one of those. I don't think Jaquel's been on the show before, but he's
No, he
obviously
hasn't.
super top.
Yes, 2011.
So it's one of those. It's one of those situations. Like it's top of his game in the real world, and you come into this. It's a very different playing field. It's like here's this ballet boy who you would never hire, and this other contemporary boy, and then this chick. Do one cohesive number with them, and make it 90 seconds long, and structure a 90-second number that's exciting and has a peak and a build. Like it's such an interesting format that when you do bring in new people, it takes them a second to get it and to figure it out, and to figure out how to call to talk to Nikki, our director, and get the right camera shots, and how to do your lighting, and how to do the whole package. Because if you take control of that, and once you're relaxed enough with the surroundings to do that, then you start having a better creative vision. So this was one of those, like, he didn't get the whole, I don't think he knew how to do it all correctly. In terms of the extra bits that you can hone in to make a really great thing.
And
make it pop.
Not anything, because he's like, you can't, he's
a single ladies, and he did burlesque,
it just shows you. It just takes it takes some of the new choreographers a second. My first numbers bombed on that show because they're like it's a lot to figure out.
And Nigel will call you out on it too. I mean, Nigel did criticize Jaquel quite a bit. I mean, you heard it, and you're just like. I hate it when you guys.
Not fun to sit there and get it.
It's not fun. Yeah, I mean, we talked about that before. It's tough. It's tough for even my cringe, like watching it at home. So,
but it was actually not one of the out of routines that I saw. That was not one of my least favorites. Like I thought it was.
It was
visually entertaining. I thought, and actually, I was kind of bummed at how hard the judges were on Jim and Moses, because I thought that they, in terms of like how they're talking to some of Asaf, like in terms of how they're talking to certain people who are out of their element and like giving them high praise, but then like taking someone like Jim who was I was looking at him, I'm like, you're bringing it for a ballet boy. You are doing the hip hop to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was just kind of like, what?
Yeah, it is one of those things. I'm like, they both need to get down more, both Moses and I dance the same way. I'm like up here doing hip hop. So I can see it because I was like, that's what I look like doing hip hop sometimes. Probably even worse than that. But
we have a video from the MS dance.
You know exactly. Yeah, Courtney Galliano's dance walk.
I was really hoping we were going to cut.
I know.
And here it is.
It is on YouTube, so go search for it. But yeah, they need to drop down more. But again, yeah, compared to some of the other numbers we saw last night, this wasn't. Yeah, I mean, this wasn't a disaster by any means.
No.
Yeah, I think they were too hard.
This is where people started getting heated up. See?
Yeah. Oh, just wait.
More's coming. All right, then we go into Eurelis Edson JJ with Tavares Wilson, another person we haven't seen since 2011, doing a jazz piece. I've heard mixed on this one all over the board.
I thought the judges were harsher on it. I liked it. It was kind of weird. I don't know if it was the costumes that were like visually throwing me off. But Eurelis I love JJ. JJ was a favorite for me coming in, but Eurelis is like picking up steam. Mm-hmm. She's one of those contestants that we like to watch her growth, and I think she'll be one of the ones who really stays.
She will. I mean, she's cross-trained, so she was a contemporary dancer that was like, I can't make it on contemporary, so I'm going to be hip-hop. So
brilliant.
Here she is on Team Street.
There's a couple of them in there this year.
There are Virgil.
You have great tilts and Georgia Tays for a street dancer.
Ariana.
You learn that in a week.
I love the idea that you're like Little Red Riding Hood. Like, you have.
What nice lines you have. It's so funny, the difference between my street dancer last week and you. God.
I really love like the dancers in this number, and I really didn't love the number, so it kind of like bummed me out because I was super pumped to hear that it was going to be the three of them on stage together, and then when I watched it I was just kind of, I don't know, it just didn't really do much for me.
Did it remind you of like a classic jazz routine from the 80s? Was that, I mean...
No, I'm like...
What's wrong? What's hard about the jazz category is it can be interpreted so many different ways. And I've done interviews lately about like the state of jazz right now and what that means, because it can skew into like the Sonia jazz territory or like the jazz piece that Ray did last week, and like it can really be...
The two pieces he did last week were very different.
Those were both jazz, and they were very, very different. And you know, there's a lot of hip hop. Everything, I guess, can skew in different ways, but certainly the jazz that was a very hip hoppy jazz number for something that was supposed to be set in a club. It was lit wrong to me. It was like too light. The costumes were things like it wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't presented right again. Yeah. Like.
It felt like the way it was lit, now that you say it, that it was like a recital.
Yeah.
It was like lit like a recital.
It did feel a little bit dance competition-y in that.
And we have Emmy-winning lighting designers.
But the thing is like you have to put together your pack, like you have to put conceptual sheet together that gets sent in the week before, and they all sit around a meeting and they get a head start on that stuff. So maybe if he didn't describe perfectly what he wanted and show pictures of this is what I want the lights to look like and such, then you don't get that. And once you were presented with what they've come up with, what Bob's come up with on the day of, like that's what they're going with. So that's another one of those new people might not have done the right.
Yeah, that's so cool to know about that. Like as the choreographer, you guys have to really think about the way you want it to be lit and the camera angles you guys want to hit, and that's really cool.
Yeah, you fill out, there's categories. It's like a standard thing, and you fill out every little category. You put all the pictures in there, and then they sit down and they have a creative meeting on like the Sunday before you start rehearsal, and that's when the costumes figure out what they're doing, and everybody gets like a head start on it.
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing when you look at the wardrobe sometimes, because Marina, she's amazing. She is like such a beast. Yeah, she's incredible. But when you look at a piece and go, I don't understand what's going on, the choreographer suggested sort of what the look, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
and maybe suggested not super clearly.
Yeah, either not clearly or had a vision in their head and it didn't meet.
Translate.
Mind.
Got it.
I work really well with Marina, and I trust her a lot, so I'll show her a lot of things and then say, you will find something, the couture version of that. Go and bring me options and we'll find, and she comes through every time.
Killer.
I loved last week.
My costumes are my favorite ones I've ever had, maybe. Oh, like those three and those colors.
So good. It was so good.
That was amazing. Mm-hmm. Before we continue on, we do have a word from our sponsor.
Our fabulous sponsor they have a question for you. Does driving matter to you? Driving with the windows down, the wind blowing through your hair, the smell of pine trees and fresh asphalt. You look forward to these moments when it's just you and the road. No distractions, handling every curve, and feeling every nuance in the road. So ask yourself, does driving matter to you? If it does, we build cars just for you. Because to us, driving matters. Mazda. Thanks, Mazda.
That has gotten very sultry.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mazda.
I thought I was bringing my more serious voice, but okay, I'll go with sultry.
Sultry, I like it.
Driving matters.
Hey, driving can be sultry.
Yeah.
Zoom.
Driving should be very zoom sultry.
Zoom.
Yeah, let's zoom it up.
And since you revved us up for this category...
See, it was perfect the way I did that.
Yeah, queen of the transition here.
Thank you.
We are trying to... We got to talk about... Asaf, Asaf, what I've heard.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
I was like, I forget again.
And you also have people pronouncing it in a British accent and an American accent and his accent, which is why it's like pick up. I keep saying Asaf, but
Asaf
and Asaf. I've heard every single thing across the board at this point, so I just think it's funny. Let's start. Before we talk about this week, I want to go back to last week because you had Asaf and you had Neptune and you had Kate for your Broadway number. And we saw a package, and again, it's TV, so producing, they show what they want to show in those packages. What was Asaf like in the rehearsal studio?
Okay, I'll be quick and I'll be honest. They did not show. I lost it for the first time ever on a contestant with him. It's the first time I've ever yelled, and it was along the lines of like, you need to shut up. I'm trying to help you not look like an idiot. And there was so much there were so many walls, there was so much back talk, there was so much, I can't do this is too many steps for me, why does it go like this and then back this way, this is too much, I can't. And it just, it was driving me nuts. Because I have had every b-boy and breaker and animator and hip-hop boy that has ever come across that show for 7 seasons. I have pulled them all. And he's by far the most challenged in choreography. And he was in the room with another hip-hop boy who was doing so well, and Kate as well, who I absolutely adored. She would have been my pick for that number, hands down. I pulled her out of they pulled me out of the hat. But unfortunately, it just sucks every moment of your time and your energy when you were trying to get someone up to par. I had to set a bar here with steps. I ended up pulling some things after 2 days because they just weren't happening. I wanted to meet in the middle. You run the risk of Nigel throwing you under the bus, which he did when you make something too easy. Or like last year when I had Milena and like the girl couldn't kick or turn or do a whole lot. She's genius at what she does, but like I put some kicks in there and some things, and I got thrown to the wolves for it. So you're trying to
you had Stanley, who was here, and then you have Milena.
So you're having to make these decisions, and they're not in the room with you, and you're like, what do I want to show? And anyway, so we picked a bar, and I'm like, you were going to get up to it, but I could have taken the other two so much farther. I could have made Kate genius in that number if I was able to watch. I had to tell my assistant finally, like, you have to watch him. I cannot look at it anymore because I can't focus on just that anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I knew we talked about it with Kate last year. I'm like, last week, she could have done those steps in her sleep because...
Yeah, I mean, the steps were one thing, but, like, I can talk to an dancer and be like, what does this move feel like? And this has to... You take a breath here, and you push it out here, and you do... Like, I just didn't have time to do that. Mm-hmm. And it was really frustrating because I loved that concept, and I liked everything about it, and I liked how it looked. And I hid that boy really well. I picked the darkest color suit for him, and I put him in on the farthest side of the camera you could put him. I did all the tricks so that at home you might not see how rough it really was.
I thought it looked great,
we really liked the number. I mean, honestly, I know you're frustrated, but
it was as good as it was ever going to be with those three dancers, and I was happy with it. And I walked out of there and I was proud of what I did. It was a very hard week. Chris Scott had him as well last week and was incredibly frustrated. It's just hard because it's like everyone's here and he's really down there at anything but what he does.
When you see Twitch get mad, I was like, okay, you're seeing, and you get mad like when I'm seeing people that I know get really frustrated. You know that you're at Chris is another one. Yeah, you just get to a point you're like, holy cow. And he was not in the original top 20. He was the one that was selected to replace Hurricane.
Well,
they love him, and he is a character on the show, and he is one of the bigger personalities, 100%, and that is why he's there. I knew, hands down, if he went up against Burham in the bottom, they would keep him in a heartbeat. I knew, and I thought he was going to be in the bottom last week, and if he had been, Nigel would have asked me what I thought, but I never got to give my opinion on how he worked, and so you don't go and present that information. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but I wasn't asked, and it's not, he pulled it off, and he did work hard, but like there's also language barrier problems, and there's all sorts of stuff there. It's just really hard, and it's going to drag down every single number that he's in.
Totally.
I'm going to imagine it drag down Kate and Neptune too.
Yeah, well, to say something to that number last week, that number for me put a spotlight on Neptune. And I was like, whoa, I wasn't paying attention to this guy before, and now he's awesome. And it saved him because he got Twitter saved from that number. And then even this week, you're like, oh, Neptune is here. We know this guy's name. We know he's working hard. Yeah. This is him.
Here's his breakthrough.
He did. Oh, his work ethic was amazing. And they're trying to help Aesop out in the room, both Kate and him, and they kept their calm, and you could see it with the girl he danced with this week. I forget her name, the cha-cha girl.
Marissa.
Because when you're in a partnership, you have no choice. You are on stage with them. And I say that to my dancers when they're mismatched all the time. It doesn't matter how good you are. You have to figure out this middle ground, but it's just sucking the energy out of it.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into Asif and Marissa doing the club cha-cha with Jean-Marc Genereux. I mean, this has so many elements to it. You've got Jean-Marc, who is like one of the biggest characters to come on. He always has big concepts and big ideas. Some years he has props even for his package.
Oh, yes.
We've talked about that.
I love him.
You're getting into cha-cha with the b-boy. It is very specific, and I could see, like, I could see how disappointed Jean-Marc was, because you know that, again, he tailored the choreography to do the best that he could. To showcase Marissa, kind of hide. Asif, dress him like hot and sexy, because he's got a great physique. And it was
Not
tough
in the
one.
realm of his fault, Jean-Marc's fault. I
No.
was livid listening to Nigel even broach on the like the idea that any of that was his fault.
It's not fair.
Because I know how hard his week was.
Not fair.
And the thing I called it last week when I had him, I'm like, the second he gets ballroom, he's done, because his hardest things are footwork and arms. He has no control or sense of his arms at all. And like, to partner a girl and do the feet work and the rise and the fall and that, like, he had not a single element that would help him out in that situation.
He looked like he wasn't a dancer.
Right.
Like, he looked like, I would ask my brother, who is a professional lacrosse player, and I was like, hey, JD, you want to do club cha-cha? Like, my brother, who, like, if anything, will, like, lift his shirt up and be like, this is me dancing. And, like, that was Asif to me. It was just so bad. It was so
one of the, like,
bad.
the first people to get kicked off in Dancing with the Stars bad. Like, the
Yes.
stats, like, it was that.
Yes.
It was that. When
You know, when
see
you hear them go the flat foot, like, it was the flat foot all the time. You always hear, like, Len saying that, or Bruno. Yeah.
And poor Marissa. I mean, they like had the audacity to give her any comments, and you're like, this girl
Yeah, that was
obviously was working so hard and biting her tongue so hard and just doing the best she could. And I was really happy that she was not in the bottom, because I don't know, I'm not connecting with her through the camera. I know she's a good dancer, but after this, I'm like, Marissa, you poor thing. Like, I will vote for you.
She had the worst week of her life, and Jean-Marc had the worst week of his life. And I feel like at some point, like on that day, on that camera block day, someone said to her, you just go out there and do you and shine and smile, because that's going to be what it is. And that's probably what she ended up doing, was like, I've tried my hardest, and now I got to save myself.
Alison, I want to know, is the chat room, are you able to get in? Can you see anything?
It's giving me the spinning wheel of
so-
death. So I'm hoping.
that
I have the
wheel.
page back, but I'm still like, it just says loading.
Okay, well, if you get something,
I'm
let me
sorry.
know, because I want to
Okay.
hear
I
what
know.
the chat room's
I'm
saying.
sure
about
it's very
Asif.
active right now.
Well, Twitter was really, really active, because I had some strong words for Asif last week, and everyone was like, I'm dying to hear what she's going to say. And it's really nothing new, besides he's really bad. I'm really surprised that Jason Derulo said what he said when he was like, you better flex those muscles for votes. And you were like, I was like, oh my God, yes,
But
because
that's
that's
good.
all why you're on. That's the only reason he's
a charmer.
on.
There aren't enough characters this year. He's one of the only ones. There's not that many that you are attached to, and he's not going to win, but they're going to keep him around. He needs to get a contemporary that he can sort of like Sonia would break him. Sonia would give him something that
Break him in a good way?
In a good way. Like,
Okay.
she would figure out how to show him off the best. Like, like if it was something, because she can make a guy like a forklift and do it. Like, but if there's nothing else I can see him getting that's going to get any better from where he's at.
Yeah, and it's frustrating to watch, and then to hear like Marissa get blamed, like no connection. You're like, dude, she just got to go out there and dance to save her life, because if she's in the bottom next week, it's all because of what happened, and nothing to do with her or anything else like that. But I'm hoping Sonia is back. I know she's been in New York a lot.
She
this
has been in
season.
New York working. I don't know when she's coming back.
I know.
But what is unfair to Asaf, however you're going to say his name, there is no b-boy category. He will never pull his own style, and even at hip hop, he can't do that either. So it's like the constant. It's like when there's a true tapper on there, or like the point, the point girl, or there's something where that category doesn't exist, because you can't ask Jim to spin on his head, or one of the girls to like that. You can't do that. So he's always going to be out of his element, which might be the one reason that they're kind on him, because they know that he's got the shit under the stick every week.
Well, what makes me angry is that he had hip hop last week, and Chris is trying to give him b-boy moves, and like Chris is literally like doing b-boy moves, and is like, I love b-boys, and then you have Asif being like, I don't want to just do b-boy, and you're like, shut up, dude. Like, shut up. This is for you, and this is cool. And yeah, you're not gonna pull b-boy. And that was what was so frustrating for me, is I was kind of giving him like a little like, okay, this is hard. Like, I don't think I could do that, and things like that. But then when you're like, he's he's giving you your thing.
It's like, do you want to spin on your head or learn 6 more H's
Yeah,
of choreo?
exactly.
Because I'm trying to help you out.
Yeah.
And I mean,
That's
there's a lot of things going on too, because first of all, he's got to realize like every choreographer is probably watching bits and pieces of this show. When are you going to get hired professionally? Because it's like I don't want that in my studio. But we also have to remember, the production has set him up for failure quite a bit because he already had the attitude. They brought him on as the fill-in. They're keeping him on. Because he is good TV, so he's become this weird villain of like love to hate him, and he's his own worst enemy at the same time. There's so many layers and levels of things going on, so we have to understand all of that.
It's why he's there, and if you're upset as to why Burham went home instead of him, they're both pretty. Like Burham's a little better choreo, but not a lot. And
he just tries. That's his only thing.
But sadly, it's Asaph looks like a supermodel, and Burham looks like the villain from a Bond movie. Like you don't root for. If I'm being totally honest, you're not.
He has those puppy dog eyes that slant down,
It's
and
just
they're really
not. There's
cute.
not the charm there. It doesn't draw
He's
you
quieter.
in. So like, if they're both going to be a pain in the butt in the room, you're going to keep the one that's more interesting to watch,
Yeah.
and that's why the decision was made.
Yep, and this season we do need colorful characters because we're lacking in them. So we go on to Gabby, Ariana, and Burham. Here we go. Sean Cheeseman, African Jazz, and I think this is where I go. This is where it got unfair because you look and you see Burham, and who did a really good job in the Afro Jazz piece. This was one of my favorite pieces of the night.
It was awesome. I love African Jazz. I love Sean Cheeseman. But again, you totally noticed that Sean changed the choreography at the end because Burham wasn't get it. Like I just felt like there were moments when he was like kind of in the middle doing his own thing, and then the girls were doing something else, and it was just a moment that you were like, you know what? He probably changed that choreography in the end. Like it probably was supposed to be all of them doing it together, and they changed it so he could get it and wouldn't look so bad. And he didn't like. You wouldn't have noticed if you didn't have a package that he wasn't hitting everything, but it was one of those things that it's hard having those b-boys, but he's really sweet and he was hitting it, and otherwise the girls killed it. Like the girls were awesome.
The girls were hot. I would have rather watched the number with just the two of them.
Yeah.
Like hands down. I had to go back because he pulled my eye the whole time he did. Like it's just not the extension of lines and all the things. Like it does suck your eye. So I went back and watched it and didn't watch him. And again, it would have been better without him.
Just the two
The
of
number
them.
would have been a knockout.
Totally. The girls were so fast.
Oh my God, they were hitting it.
Yeah, no, they were definitely going. It was crazy. I thought that could have been my favorite number of the night, but it was not.
There's more coming.
Yes, because there's still more.
We gotta go. We got sidetracked for a while.
I know. But no, I was a little distracted. Not necessarily by him. I thought that there was also some stuff between Gabby and Ariana too that didn't quite sync up for me. But I still like them.
Okay. Okay, that's fine.
I really like Ariana. I'm really
she's doing
glad
great.
that she was saved last week because
And save this week.
save
this week.
She was a Twitter vote this week.
You're right.
All right, we only have about 10 minutes left, so we've got like 4
let's
more
go.
dances, I know. So Neptune and Kate were the next ones. Justin, is it Giles or Giles?
Giles.
Justin Giles, who was, of course, he was Nick Lazzarini's original teacher. I didn't know that.
Oh,
Contemporary.
That's where he's from. They showed him. They showed him on Nick's season, I think.
Yeah, so just thought I'd throw that out there. But I love that you had Neptune and Kate last week, and then they got to work together again this week.
In another period
And I think
piece.
that helped their connection because they had
so
a
too.
bump last
Definitely.
week over getting through that week. But this was my favorite of the night, the two of them. I thought it was
Aw.
beautiful. I very much enjoyed that it had its own voice as a contemporary. It's so easy now to pick out for me. Like you know a Travis number and a Sonia number and a Stacey number, and it was a breath of fresh air to be something different. Justin has done group numbers before, but I don't think he's ever done the competition numbers.
Yeah, it was really nice to see. So
It was great, and it made me miss the couples because I did notice that they had chemistry, and it's like, oh yeah, they always grow and get better together, and the numbers always get better that way. And it was sort of like, oh, dang it, like that.
unless you're Jessica Richens, who like everyone went,
Oh yeah! Wow.
She never
But
had a partner.
there was a season where they didn't stay in normal couples, and that was a big downfall that season. And it's the biggest thing this season that is missing is you love watching pairs grow.
Yes.
Like Valerie and Ricky last year that pulled
So
each other
cute.
along. Like you don't get those bonds.
And your swing piece got nominated.
I know.
I
God,
love
didn't
that
think
one. Come on.
Oh wait, the one where her skirt in the dress rehearsal got stuck on the
Indeed.
swing.
Indeed.
That's a great piece.
But yeah, I liked this one the best. It was the most interesting to watch to me. I loved the choreo.
And they felt it. You saw that they felt it, which I thought was really
And the
good.
judges certainly called them out on it too. Was it Jason that did?
I think
Yeah,
so.
he
It was like, wow, you guys have some chemistry. It was like,
A new couple
hey,
of shit.
hey.
But I'm glad they need to ease up on Kate. She is by far one of the strongest girls in there, and why she is always featured. If you look at the group numbers, she's the
Always.
star of them because you put her in a room with everyone else, and she is the best dancer in my opinion. And like, they were too hard on her. They've been too hard on her. So I'm glad they finally did now you get it. Yeah.
I think she makes it look easy.
Probably,
like,
yeah.
and that's one of the things is like it's hard. That's like a weird balance to be that good and be like, well, how do I push it when you're trying to relax into your moves and
You could see Travis too, because I mean, he
easy.
works with her in Shaping Sound, and he just was like, "All right, good. Like, this is her week. This
Yeah.
is her." And then we get to the show stopper of the night: Virgil and Haley in a Phoenix and Farside hip hop number, doing their robots. And I mean, we've been like praising Virgil, and last week I said, "Watch out, Haley's a sleeper because she's going to sneak in there and really nail it." And I think she did.
yeah, oh yeah, she like brought it. But I'm telling you, Virgil's gonna win like again.
And
Like,
he could be in there. He could do that fiction thing. I don't think
Yeah.
she's a sleeper. She's the only other girl, not to be mean to the rest of them, she's the only other one I'd looked at and been like, I want her. Like, I want to get her because there's something
Oh.
interesting in there. So I think she's got a big personality, and I think she'll go far. But Travis said it right. There is not another girl that would have done that better than her. Even
Totally.
maybe on the street team. I mean, that was hard.
So
really hard and really character driven.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree. Like that. I mean, they were
Farside
perfect
Pigs
for
are
that.
killing it. Oh, I'm so glad they
They
joined
are.
on. They are really like, if I was another hip hop choreographer on that show, I'd be a little like, okay, you're nailing this right now. I need to pick it up. Like,
they've already got their Emmy reel going for next year.
They definitely do. Yeah.
But God, I mean, their group number last week was insane.
So good.
So good. Ugh.
Yeah, and that's that's when you see like a group of choreographers really break out. They broke out last year,
They
and
did.
I love that. So, and then we go to Team Street and Stage. So Team Stage had JC Royal, who's got a show here coming up this weekend at El Portal Theater, by the way, her Royal Flux company.
That's a cute name.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think of the Team Stage group number?
Thought it was awesome.
Really intricate.
So cool.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. I
Who
mean,
was that woman?
JC Royal. Her assistants were Audrey Case from
Yes,
season
I
9,
saw
and
that
Matt,
on
Matt
the yeah.
was also there.
Remind me of the number. I can't remember it,
It
right
was
now.
like that they were stacking on top of each
Stacking.
other and lifting
Oh,
and things.
yeah.
All the partnering.
And Kate was the star of it. The whole
Yes,
thing
she
was
was.
like she was the leader.
Yeah,
You couldn't take your
the whole
eyes off her.
package.
Sorry to everyone
the
else,
whole
but
package was about her
she-
too.
you know,
They showed her in the whole package.
But it was beautiful, and it was nice to see a delicate side because their piece last week with Travis was out of this world. But like, it's different to just be hard and like go full force like an army, and then to have something more soft.
yeah, I really liked this one.
That was a
It was
really
just
impressive one.
really cool visually.
Yeah. It's one you could go back and watch. You'd watch over and over again on YouTube.
Oh yeah, the pictures. It was just picture and picture and picture, and it was
Very good
really
first
cool.
show. I have a feeling like a lot of these pieces like exist already, and the producers sort of see them, and it's the first time when they come on, with these group numbers, they say, "Can you please do something like that, or take that and adapt that?" So maybe that was something that they
Maybe it's at the El Portal in North Hollywood this weekend.
Very well. I mean, she probably has a company or something. I wish I knew
She
more
does.
about
Yeah,
her,
it's
but-
Royal Flux is her company. So,
But it's very possible that was something that was adapted on, which is a difference when you've been able to work on something for a long time outside and something that you're creating very quickly in the show. I'm not saying that it wasn't amazing, but there's
it looked very polished. That's what
Yes,
I loved.
indeed.
Team Street had Marty Kudelka. Of course, Justin Timberlake's choreographer. He's Jason Derulo, Janet Jackson. He's worked with everyone. But I don't think this was as a successful group piece the way Team Stage was.
I agree.
It was almost just too laid back.
It would have been. I think this number would have been cool as a duo. Just to see two people do it because they were so relaxed, and it would have been more of like they're all grooving, just like with the couple. But I like it when the dancers get excited when they get a choreographer, and I like that. I like seeing them kind of like fan out a little bit because they're dancers and they get excited, and so that was fun for me. And this was the first time that I was like, oh yeah, the stage numbers was definitely better. Because the past 2 weeks I'm like kind of like, ooh, I like both. I can't choose.
Yeah.
A more even playing field on that side of the fence in terms of creating a cohesive number. It is a lot harder to put together all of the different, like, you can spin and you can tick and you can animate and like it's just harder to make that a number where
thing.
they're all doing unison.
Plus, like, some of them still are learning how to pick up choreography.
And they're used to dancing oftentimes. If they're not in a crew, they're used to dancing as individuals, and then getting people to match and be in unison. That's not easy. As it wound up, Team Street, the bottom three, Burham, Asif, and Ariana. The Twitter save on that was Ariana. Asif, of course, was the judge's choice. And Burham went home. And then stage, Kate was the Twitter win. Edson was the judge's choice, and Moses went home. I thought Edson was going to go home.
I wish Edson went home. I like Moses. I was really bummed. But maybe Edson has something.
I'm like, what
to
does
show.
Spencer have to say about this?
It's I don't know either of them better. It's a strength thing. Moses is just not strong enough. And he's much shorter, and there's a partner.
And
That's what I was
Nigel
thinking.
always wants him to dance like a man. And
Right.
Yeah.
Most choreographers do. Like, you want that. It's what it is. But if I had to pick between the two, I would have made that same choice.
We made it through this hour. There was so much to talk about. We probably could have gone on for 2 hours.
Oh, for sure.
Spencer, we are not going to see you back on So You Think the rest of the season, right?
Unfortunately, that was it for me. It's a bummer that it's done. But I go to New York in a few days, and I'm doing 2 simultaneous projects in New York.
Awesome.
That you will see the revival of Spring Awakening on Broadway, and then I'm doing a special number every single week on Neil Patrick Harris's Best Time Ever on NBC.
Yeah.
Cool.
That will be the rest of my year.
Okay, and
That's
social
awesome.
media, where can everyone find you?
You can follow me at Spencer Liff on Instagram, which is the more interesting one. I've just gotten into posting shirtless selfies, so there's that.
Yes.
And my Twitter is also at Spencer Liff, but I'm not as exciting on there.
Will you post behind the scenes stuff from the Neil Patrick Harris?
I will, whatever they let me.
Yeah, exactly.
I will indeed.
All
I'm happy
right.
to be back with Neil.
We are getting like the wrap-up sign really fast. So,
I'm
elsewhere.
Alison Dean. You can find me everywhere at the Alison Dean. Whee!
Chloe.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Chloe West X.
And I'm at Kristyn Burtt on Twitter and the Kristyn Burtt on Facebook and Instagram. We'll see y'all next week. I think we have another choreographer coming in. It's not 100% confirmed.
Oh,
but
yeah.
We'll be back next Tuesday. See ya.
Yay!
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.